Hi, this is Sarah from the Highlands Center for Natural History. Happy Arthropooloza, the week where we celebrate all things arthropod. Today I'm at Sycamore Canyon in the Central Highlands, and I'll be sharing with you a technique for getting to know the arthropods that live in our freshwater ecosystems. But first I want to start with a couple of definitions. Arthropods is a big superphylum, a big category of animals, and it's broken down into 4 subphylums. One of the subphylums over here is the arachnids. That's spiders, scorpions, mites, horseshoe crabs. Then over here we have 3 other subphylums that are all related. They have a common ancestor, and so we call them a clade. And in this clade, one subphylum is the myriapods. Myria means lots, pods means feet, so lots of feet, which is our millipedes and centipedes. Then we have our hexapods, and I know that some of you can probably guess what those are. Those are the insects, 6 legs, and I have some on my really cool Arthropooloza shirt, like beetles and dragonflies. And then our last subphylum is the crustaceans. And the crustaceans are the organisms that I'm particularly interested in celebrating today with Arthropooloza. So what is a crustacean? Most of us think of crabs and lobsters, but those are creatures that are far from the Central Highlands. However, there are a couple of crustaceans living locally. One of those is the crayfish. Crayfish are decapods, meaning they have 10 appendages. And as with most arthropods, they're known for their highly modified limbs. Their legs are used for walking, and then they have the 2 claws in the front, which they use to shred up their food. They're scavengers, so they'll eat all of the decaying and dead matter that sinks to the bottom. They also have antennae to help them sense their environment. But the really cool thing about crayfish is their tail fan. So their tail fans out, and that helps them propel backwards. Crayfish like to move backwards because their defenses are up front with their claws. So a lot of the time when you're looking for crayfish, you'll notice they dart backwards and put their abdomen behind a bunch of rocks with their claws out front, ready to grab you if you try to get them. So be careful when you look for crayfish, but have fun. Another crustacean you can find in freshwater is the amphipod, or scud. You can find scuds zipping around in the roots and leaves alongside creeks, and they look like little tiny shrimp. But there's one key difference. Remember the tail fan from the crayfish? Well, shrimp have tail fans, but amphipods don't. Amphipods get their name because ampha means different and pod means foot. So they have 4 pairs of legs that move forward and 4 pairs of legs that move backwards. Scuds are some of my favorite freshwater crustaceans. The last crustacean I'm going to talk about today is the copepod. Copepods are all over planet Earth, in our freshwater here in the Central Highlands, but also in the ocean. In fact, copepods, if you gathered them all up and counted them, would be one of the most abundant animals on the entire planet. Copepods are really tiny crustaceans. In fact, they're considered to be plankton, zooplankton, or animal plankton. But they are, in fact, just really small crustaceans. So in order to see some copepods, we need a special contraption. So this is my little plankton toe. I have a plastic water bottle and then a piece of nylon stocking that I've fastened with a hair tie. But you could do this, you could drag it behind the boat, you could get a real scientific one, but this is just one you can play around with at your local creek. So I'm gonna totally submerge it and then just spend some time dragging it through the water. Now let's go see what we got. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm going to detach the nylon from the container, and I'm gonna dip it into a little container of water to do some observations. So it's kind of like one of those magic eye posters where when you first look, you might not really see anything, but look closer. I can almost guarantee you caught some copepods. What you'll see are little tiny specks that are just booping and bopping about. Now, not all of them are copepods, but some of them are because of their sheer abundance on planet Earth. They kind of look like little tanks moving through the water. And these copepods, these tiny crustaceans, are the base of the food chain here. They're eating the algae and the phytoplankton, and then all of the small fish and macroinvertebrates are eating them. And because they're the base of the food chain, that gives them a really special place in our ecological systems. So arthropods are everywhere, so join us this week in celebrating them. It would be wonderful to go get in some water and see what kinds of arthropods you can find, including some of the crustaceans that we talked about today. I'm Sarah from the Highlands Center for Natural History. Thank you for joining me, and get out and explore to see what crustaceans you can catch.